Good afternoon. Welcome to this February 13th edition of Tuesday with Todd. Your host, Todd. Hey. We are on a marketing Tuesday, which means we're going to have Bob in from Fresh Horizons. And tonight we are talking all about virtual assistants and how they can help your small business. Virtual assistants are more than just VAs. They're an intricate part and very important piece to your business, especially if you want to grow with not a lot of cost involved comparative to what it would normally be. So in this episode, Bob's an expert at this. We're going to have his advice on it and how he uses it in his business on a daily basis, how you can use it in yours, the cost-effective growth, and that's a big thing. That is a huge thing of it. Another part is that seamless integration from, you have a team member that isn't in your office, and how does that all work? And at the end of it, this is fun. That's what we're in this for, is the fun. So thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. As always, ask your questions down below. Let us know who you are, where you're from, what is in your cup, how the weather is in your area. And like I said, if you've got questions, now is the time to ask. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button over there. Turn on notifications so when we go live, you will be notified. And sharing's caring, folks. It helps keeps the lights and mics on. So if you would be so inclined to share this, we would love it. Without further ado, let's check in with some people, and then we'll get Bob in here and see how everything is going with him today. I just have to find the cursor because it keeps disappearing on me today. So what's up, Chuck? Good afternoon to you. Jose, thanks for joining us. Darren, good evening, everyone there. Can you do UVDTF? We can. We haven't released it yet, but we can. We can do the UVDTF. And T-Town, hello, everyone. Tim over there in Toledo. It's 36 and cold out. Flavored water in the tumbler. I don't see a problem with that at all, Tim. We've got the little Celsius rocking. What do we got here? Sparkling mango passion fruit. That's what we're rocking. So I think we should get right into it because I have a feeling this is going to be an action-packed hour. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Bob in here. And Bob, there you are. There you are, my friend. Bob, how are you doing today?
Hey, I am doing awesome. It's been a beautiful sunny day here in southern Wisconsin. We've closed some deals, cashed some checks, and now we're going to help you guys do the same.
It's supposed to be, what is it? Cashing checks and snapping necks. That's what's
I thought that was a little rough to start.
You were thinking about it. I know you were thinking about it. I'll say it. If you don't know what movie if you know what movie that's from, put it down there because you should know what movie that's from.
You should. If you own a business or you are in sales, you should know about that movie.
Prestige Worldwide, baby. Prestige Worldwide. Get it. But that's, I won't go on the karaoke kick, but, running a bar for a couple years, I definitely saw that there was money to be made in it with a good KJ. That's what they were, a good KJ for it.
Right.
Bob, before we go totally off subject on this, tell us who you are, what you do, and what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Hey, so I'm Robert Ewald with Fresh Horizons Group. We're the premier promo and marketing company in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois. We help businesses better tell their stories through physical products and digital tools. So we've owned the company for, I think this is our 5th year now, according to the IRS, and just out here looking to help you guys grow your business, maybe overcome some of those hurdles that you're just not sure how to overcome, and leverage some of my experience to do that for you.
Awesome. Now, I know, we've kind of touched on this before, but there was a lot of requests for, VAs, what exactly they were, how you find them, what you do with them, how they get paid, how do I not get scammed? And so I think this is going to be a super informative one. So, when it comes down to this, I'm just a fly on the wall listening. I might chime in with some questions, comments, concerns, whatever I feel along the way there. But if you need anything from me, you let me know. But other than that, I'm turning it over to you, and I'm here to grab my pen, take some notes, and if anything comes up, I'm right here for you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate getting invited back. Either you have nobody listening, or we're doing something pretty impressive. So my counselor said to start believing in yourself. So we're going with the one that says we're making a difference.
That's what I'm thinking, Bob. I look at it this way. It doesn't matter if it's, 1,000 people on here or one person on here. If somebody's willing to listen, I'm willing to speak. And that's, it only takes one, right? It only takes one to change the world. So all we need is that one.
Yeah, for sure. Um, well, so we've had this on the schedule for a while to talk about
Mhm.
V, and we've kind of mentioned it in the last couple of times I've been on. Who here knows what VA stands for? And if you can put that in the comments or whatever. And is there anybody here using a VA currently?
I'm halfway using one. I'm not using one to their fullest extent, and that's my problem. I think, and I could be like a lot of people where they're not 100% sure what to do with them, how they use them, how often they have to use them. And with mine, it's more on a case by case situation.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people use VAs and they don't even realize it. If you have somebody that you're sending artwork to handle that side of it, if you're sending stuff off, in a lot of ways, they are VAs because, well, I guess let's explain what a VA is, for
Yeah.
those that don't know, and then, where that misnomer a VA versus, a team member or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. So VA is short for virtual assistant. Most of the time when geez, most of the time when you hear that term, we're talking about somebody that is outside of the US generally. And it certainly means that they're not an actual employee of your company. So there's many different ways to hire VAs and different things that they can do for you. In fact, there's even a few local people in your communities that operate as virtual assistants. But my experience has been this will sound terrible, but they still have the same American problems. When you start to step out of the US and you hire a VA, whether they're in France, the Philippines, Venezuela, Kenya, uh, Afghanistan. No, I'm just kidding about that. Pakistan, though, they all have a much different work ethic than we do here in the U.S. For example, there's a lady here in my community that is a VA. She likes to try to work remote and does like some paper process or data entry and things like that, and that's fine. But her skill sets have yet to equal like what I've experienced through hiring a VA. But I think the piece that I want to really help you guys to understand is that when you look at expanding your business, oftentimes it's scary because you're making a big commitment to hire somebody. And in today's world, we're looking, if you're hiring somebody full time, that's $30,000 to $50,000 a year minimum now
Mhm.
to get somebody started. If you're doing part time, you're probably anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 a year to get, for a part time person. Well, and then you're like, well, what if they don't work out? Or what if they don't know? Or now I have to pay extra taxes and I have to
Mhm.
manage all this stuff. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of angst as a small business. You're like, how do I hear this all the time from business owners. They're like, how do I afford to grow?
Mhm.
And because labor is so expensive here in the United States now. And it's not to say that it's not justified, right? That's not the point.
Right.
But in today's world, with the truly global economy that we all operate in now, there's no reason why you can't hand off the things that you're maybe not so great at or that you need help in growing to somebody that has incredible skill set that'll work for a fraction of the cost of what it would be to hire somebody here in the US. Um, so, Todd, what kind of feedback are we seeing on that stuff so far? Has anybody said anything?
Not much, not much. So we can keep rolling on.
Right. So, and if something you get a question or something pops up, just stop me. Um, I don't want to leave anybody out because I think this is a really important conversation. The so I've had VAs working for me now for I think 2.5 years, right? And I could not operate my company without him. And it's probably longer when you look at like one of the most common forms of a virtual assistant that you don't really realize is that case is using something like Fiverr or Upwork, right? A lot of the time when you hire somebody through Fiverr or Upwork, that's technically a VA. You know, you're the big difference between the way we do it here and hiring somebody through like Fiverr or Upwork is we have an agreement with somebody to work with them on a consistent basis. And the interesting part of it is it's really flexible, right? Maybe you only need somebody for 10 hours a week, or maybe you need somebody full time. Maybe you need somebody for graphic design, or maybe a copywriter, or maybe you need somebody to come in and freshen up your website or pick the task, right? If it can be done on a computer, you can hire a virtual assistant to do it. And so the greatest part is that they're not an employee. You don't have to pay all the taxes, and they most of them will work on a per job basis, or when you get busy enough, you can hire them to say we're going to do 20 hours a week or 30 or 40 or whatever you need. And so they're a very vital part to the way we run our operation. And I think almost every other business I've ever talked to could benefit from having one, whether it's somebody in a contracting space, a medical office, an apparel decorator, somebody in the digital space. Every single one of those businesses could benefit from having a VA, because there's so many little nuanced jobs that we as business owners or managers get tied down into or get bogged down with, that we're not really focused on growing the business or doing the things that the income generating roles of the business, which is as a manager or owner, that's where we need to be focused on.
Yeah.
And so hiring a VA allows you to hand off those tasks that you would maybe get hung up on doing yourself. One of the most common ones here in the custom apparel decoration space is you can hire a VA that will do your digitizing for you. So if you're doing or vectorizing, both. So if you've got we've got a guy that we work with out of Canada, does a fantastic job. He turns stuff around in a matter of just a couple of hours usually for us, and he does a heck of a job for us. So that's a piece where you may be like, oh, I've taken all this time to learn how to do it, and I'm telling you, for like $10 or $13, you can have somebody do it for you, and if there's something wrong with it, you tell somebody else to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we taken the time to learn a piece of software and spend all the hours to like learn it, and then we're doing it, and we charge, I don't know, whatever people charge for those the digitizing fees and that, and we end up spending an hour or 2 hours of our own time setting that file up for $25, $50, $75, where for $10, $15, you can hand it off to somebody and continue to grow your business or work another job or whatever that is. And it's understanding how to leverage this wide open global economy that we have our hands on. And every single one of us do. If we're on a call like this, there's no difference to talking to Todd in the Quad Cities versus talking to Jason in the Philippines or Miguel in Nicaragua or Frank in Kenya. Doesn't matter. It all operates the same nowadays.
Yeah, and one of the things is I know we've all been in that where we're halfway through a job and we realize we should have sent it out, and we're stuck because what do we do? Do we continue on or do we send it out? And you've already in it, you've already spent that time on it, and one of the biggest factors, the cost factors in our business is labor, and our time is valuable, our time to do something. So if we're paying ourselves, even on the cheap side, you're paying yourself $25 an hour, can you send that to somebody else to do for less so you can do something more? And that's where a lot of it is structured. So, what are you going to do? What is the scope of the project? Because, I'm sure, Bob, you don't send everything off to VAs. There's still some stuff that you do because you know what needs to be done on it. You can do it in an efficient manner. And so you learn, what jobs to send off, what jobs not to send off. Now, you're not going to, and I could be wrong in this, but, I feel I know Bob pretty good. Bob's not going to send off a job to a VA that one is going to lose him money. There's a reason that he's doing that is because it's making him money with it. It's no different than having an employee, which I think is something that we touched on earlier when we went kind of over this call was that, those virtual assistants just aren't virtual assistants. They're that vital party of your team. It's like having another employee. And when you
Yeah.
start thinking of them that way, I think it expands what you can do with your business. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think in that pre-call when we were talking about this, is that you have to understand that you're hiring somebody to be a part of your business, to be a part of your team. And it's really not much different when you hire somebody that's beyond just a contract or just beyond a per job basis. When you're going to have somebody that's actually, there every day, working with you side by side, you have to look at it as you're hiring an employee, but you get all the benefits of not having them as an employee.
Right.
It's not like hiring a 1099 contractor where, if you follow by the letter of the law, your hands are kind of tied sometimes when it comes to working with 1099ers, right?
Mhm.
Where with this, I mean, how are they ever going to figure out who you were working with? They
Right.
don't, and so, but you want to make sure that if you're hiring somebody to keep up with your emails or to write your copy for websites or do your digitizing or whatever that is, that one, you've clearly defined what their role is going to be. You've agreed on the quality of work that you're expecting out of them, and that there is good communication, and that overall that they fit well with your organization. I had one guy a while back that was from in Africa, and not Frank, not like how I mentioned earlier, and he just was not a fit. He had a personality that just it didn't work well with our dynamic, and so we agreed that hey, this just isn't going to be the right thing for you. um and so you kind of have to have that baseline that you're going to be hiring somebody and you're going to go through that same process. If you just hire somebody, you're like, hey, I'm just going to tell them what to do every day, although it will work, it will create some stress. And these people, it's very, very interesting. When you hire a VA, these people are eager to work for you. It's
Mhm.
not like hiring an American where um, so many times, especially in lower skilled jobs, they're looking to undermine you in one way or another, or they think they should be the owner or whatever. Pick the crazy story that we've all
Yep.
experienced. These people are eager to work with you. I mean, some of them feel uh, over the years I've had a couple that are. I mean, I feel like it's an honor to work for an American.
Yep.
It's the it you know I was blown away the first time I experienced that because I was so used to coming, as I've talked before, coming out of the lawn care industry where you're just hoping and praying everybody shows up every day, and when they do show up, you hope that they're going to try not to burn the place down.
Right.
I had some great employees. Please don't take that out of context. I had some awesome employees over the years at the lawn care company, but excuse me. But the ones that weren't so great, man, those are the ones we all tell the stories about. So you want to have, I call it like a standard operating procedure, an SOP for your VA. It doesn't have to be something super detailed, but you want to have at least a framework of why you're hiring them, what they're going to be doing, and how many hours a day or a week that you're going to expect them to perform.
Well, Bob, that leads us into some good stuff here with questions, because Diana asked that she could desperately use a VA. So how do I know which ones won't get scammed? So how do you go about finding a VA? Like, where do you look for one at? What kind of questions do you ask? What I know pay could be all over the place, amount of hours over there. So if you could maybe just kind of give us a breakdown summary of what it takes to go in there and get a VA, how, where, what, why, all of that, if you can.
Yeah. So there's two primary ways to hire a VA. One is you can go through an agency, much as if you would through like a temp service, right? And these agencies have pre-qualified people. They've gone through an interview process. They know their skills, and they know how to kind of fit people together. Currently, I have 3 VAs that work for me. Two of them I hired through an agency. One I hired direct. So the 2 through the agency, I reached out to my rep and said, "Hey, I'm looking for somebody to do XYZ stuff." And I said, "Who do you have?" They sent me over some resumes, and I reviewed them and said, "Okay, well, I'd like to hire Miguel and I'd like to hire Frank." Miguel has been with me for 2.5 years. Frank's about a month right now. And so it took a lot of that fear of, am I going to get scammed or whatever? And I guess to maybe open up that question a little bit more is, what is, Diana, what is that fear, or that where is that coming from, that fear of being scammed? What do you mean by that? Let's unpack that a little bit, because I don't want to just ramble on. I want this to be contextual and something that you guys can really, really implement. So while she comes back with that, let me talk about how to hire a direct hire. There are a lot, excuse me. There are a lot of websites out there where you can, that are similar to like Indeed, and the better ones will give you all the same types of details. Jason, sorry, I've got this cough that just will not go away. Jason, who works for me, I found him on a website called onlinejobs.ph. He's from the Philippines, and I mean, just an absolutely awesome guy. And I was looking for somebody to specifically help with some technical skills, things I am not good at, things I don't even know how to do, but I know need to be done, right? Kind of the same type of thing that anytime you're hiring for a position in your company, you're going to kind of go through that same process. You're like, hey, I'm really good at sales, or I'm really good at pressing, or whatever it is. And now you got to go find and fill the gaps. So the concept is the same when you hire a VA. So I was going through that website, and there was a couple of people, and I interviewed a couple of them, and Jason was a perfect fit. And he handles now a lot of when we're building our systems and our websites, not like the design side. He doesn't do that so much, but he handles like all the technical, like, hey, how do we set up, these types of DNS records, or how do we make this automation send an email to somebody every 3 hours until they respond, or hey, this job's completed. How do I send a client a text message and an email notifying them of that? He does all that type of stuff. He does the automation side of things, but he knew exactly how to do it. He when I interviewed him, he speaks better English than a lot of Americans I know, and was like, perfect. Let's give it a shot, and we agreed on terms, and we were able to roll. So, does that kind of help fill in some of that?
I think so. Barb's got a couple questions here, so I'm going to post them and then let you go on both of them, because right. I don't have an answer on this one. So I'm definitely handing it over to you. When you hire a VA, I wonder how that affects your commercial insurance. I would think it wouldn't at all, because it's no different than hiring like a digitizer or sending out to have artwork done. But that's where I ask you. Do you know anything, if it affects anything like that?
That's a great question. I honestly don't. I don't know the answer to that question. I've told my insurance agent that we use a broker, just to be candid. I told my insurance broker, I'm like, hey, we've got VAs. He's like, what's that mean? That was my first clue. But it does. They're not employees, right? They're independent contractors that don't even live in the U.S. Right. I think if you're having them write copy and stuff like that, you maybe want to make sure that you have like an errors and omissions policy that is maybe either that, it might be wrapped into an umbrella or something along those lines. But from like a work comp standpoint, or they don't show up in like our employee audits or our insurance audits or anything along those lines.
Well, and yours are through. Are you paying them directly, or are you paying them through the service? Which way?
Both.
And so I was to say, so how does that work? Because that was Barb's next question is, what do you think the average cost per year is to have one? Because the two sides, and I could be wrong on this, but when I look at it, if you're hiring through an agency, it's almost like hiring a real person through a temp agency. You pay a set amount per hour. They keep a part of it, and then they give the other part to the employee. When you buy direct, it's like hiring the employee direct, and you're paying them. So,
correct.
What do you think on that?
Yeah, so we have both direct hire and agency. And let me just kind of walk you through both pieces of that. Okay, so the agency ones, this particular agency says they give us a cap, right? It's a really low cap per person. I want to say it's $100 or something like that. And so the way it works is that they track, we track the hours. The employee tracks the hours, whatever. And when they've amassed enough hours to trigger that $100, we're sent an invoice that automatically drafts off of our credit card. And there, we see the hours as a checks and balance thing. It's no different than having an employee. And you're like, $100. We're used to that's like 4 hours 4 or 5 hours in the American world, right? Well, I've got one of the guys that works for me I think he's still at $7 an hour.
That's way cheap.
And you can get less than that too. But he's $7 or $8. He's at $7 an hour. The other guy's at $8. For the two that are through the agency, I don't know how much they keep. That is something that they will not disclose for risk of losing their job, because they're employed by that agency. So I agree on the terms with the agency. Hey, these are how many hours, yada yada yada, and I will. They submit the invoice, and it drafts on my credit card. So that's how that part works. Now, Jason, who's a direct hire through the Philippines, what we do is he uses a this is just to make it simple. He's been a VA for a while, so he knows how this works, but he operates with as if it were a business in the Philippines. So we pay him. We had originally started off paying him by the hour. He's $10 an hour. And we then got to a point where we're like, hey, the hours keep fluctuating. Some weeks you have a lot, some weeks you don't. How about we just agree on a set price? And so he's making between $250 and $300 a week. And we just PayPal him money. So, but through PayPal, it looks like I'm paying a business
Gotcha.
because of the way he set that up through PayPal. So if you're going to hire a VA, and there's other ways, okay, there's lots of different ways that you can pay them and things like that. But these two have been super, super easy to do. And it shows up as a vendor expense in our operating expenses, in our cost of, it's not really cost of goods. It's more like operation or overhead. But that's how we do it. It's direct pay is usually through PayPal. There's some others out there, but PayPal seems to work the best, and it's got fast turnaround time for the employee, and their exchange rates are usually pretty favorable as well.
Gotcha. Well, Dinah went ahead and she followed up with what she was asking about. She goes, well, you hear of people whose companies are held hostage and you have to pay to get your stuff. She's just really new at it and she's not sure what to expect. Maybe wrong in my thinking. I just want to know what the hazards of it are. And then with that, she says, so I can hire them per job, say like one fixed website, that maybe later on hire one to work on designing a catalog. And then to follow that up, Barb is also wondering the same thing on it, on that. So it's my understanding, I'll let you answer because you know all the big answers with it, but it's with mine that on the back end, the first part is definitely you on, worried about being held hostage and that such. But on the back end, you can hire them on a per job basis, a per project basis. Because that's what they're doing. They're not an employee who's expecting to come into work to do stuff. There's a set job, there's a set time or set things like that, and that's between either you and the company that you're going to go through if you're a VA, or through the VA themselves if you're going direct.
All right, so let me see if I can kind of unpack some of that.
Yep.
So to kind of get your feet wet with, and I apologize if you guys can hear my dog. I'm working from home, so I'm just waiting for my wife to come get him so I don't stand up in this meeting. So if you are, I lost my train of thought. So if you're looking to hire somebody to do just a one-time job, you're better off because of the amount of effort that you're going to put in to give me 1 second. I'm going to mute for a moment.
Go for it. There. He's muted there. So while Bob's muted there, yes, that's what we've done. And like Barb had said here, is that kind of like Fiverr where you could hire someone to do something once in a while? Absolutely. And that's the great thing about it is you don't need to always have work for that person. It can be a project-based thing. I know people that are proficient in Adobe, proficient in Corel, proficient in a lot of software, and that's what they do is just on a job basis. Hey, I need this done. Okay. If you think about what we're already doing and where a lot of us are using it in, digitizing, redrawing of artwork, things like that, it's that same thing where you're able to send them to them. Here, and I have this project, here's what it is. And a lot of times beforehand, okay, for this type of project, this is what you're going to pay for it. So instead of it being hours, it's project based on what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, and so to piggyback in with what you're saying there, Todd, because you're exactly right. If you're doing a per job thing and you're kind of tiptoeing into the VA world, certainly learn about Fiverr and Upwork. There's a myriad of different ones, but those guys are those are some of the best ones. And get started working with them, and then you'll be more comfortable to um, you'll be more comfortable to how do I want to say it, hand those jobs off. Because with Fiverr as an example, you're going to kind of put that job out there, and you're going to kind of get some bids on it, and then you're going to be able to look and say, well, okay, this person has this experience, this person's going to, they're going to charge this much, and you can kind of, quickly go through and figure out who you want to work with. And excuse me, and there are times where you'll be able to develop a relationship with somebody on there, and you can begin to work with them on a direct basis. And if you really like working with them, a lot of people will do this. They'll hire them, and they'll become a VA for them, because a lot of times the VAs are filling some of their extra hours or their extra time by working through those job boards, if you will, like the Fivers. So, if you're just doing a per job type basis, I would start there. Now, if you're looking to hire somebody that's going to become a part of the team, then that direct hire or working through an agency where you're going to say, we're going to either pay you by the hour or pay you a certain amount per week, is the way to go. In all of that is negotiated prior to them starting work. It's not something that you, how do I say it? It's not a whim. These people are relying on your money to fund their families, especially the good ones. So how do you avoid a scam? All right. So I have yet to see where that is, but I thought pragmatically about how it could happen. So we use Google Drive, and we used to be on another platform, and we did the same thing there as what I'm about to describe. So we have people work on our art files all the time. So whether it's somebody designing a postcard or setting artwork up, getting art vectorized or whatever. So I have two they're basically redundant files. One, the VAs have access to, and the other is our side. And so we just, and once you're working with somebody, you'll know if they're going to mess with you. I mean, and again, that fear is much more of an American thing. These people are just as afraid you're going to screw them as you are of them screwing you. Okay. I mean, they're investing their time hoping that the American doesn't screw them, because let's face it, we don't always have the best reputation in the world. Okay.
Yep.
But we set up a redundant system like that. And for different things, I've had them sign non-disclosures because I know that they work for different places. Like, hey, don't tell people how we're doing things.
Well,
does it solve everything? No, but if you hired the guy that was sitting in the desk next to you, they could do the same stupid thing there too.
Right. I think one of the big things that people think about is, if they're helping, do things on your website, they have access to that. So, how does that work? Can they go in and change stuff? Can they go in and, drain all your funds because the account's here and they switch it over here, and I guess that could be a possibility, but I think that's all in that vetting process. If you're working with a company, which I guess that's where I think I would start at, instead of going to find one on your own, go through a company, because then they're there to back that up. That is your communication, your liaison between it. So that's who I would start with. And you really, if you vet out the company and you have, good results with them, and you're going to talk to other people that are using it, they have no problem providing references and things. You shouldn't really have that issue, but is there the chance it could happen? There's the chance of anything can happen, and it just, that's part of it.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. And I guess that was a piece that I didn't hit on quite right. So you give somebody access to your website. Like in our platform, the Fresh Horizons platform, that you can limit the permissions that people have, right? If it's something that could really be detrimental to the company, then it's no different than what you would do with an employee. Like I would never give an actual employee that's working in my office the access to my GoDaddy account. We've got hundreds and hundreds of domains. The ability to screw up like all these people's websites because of it, no way. So that's something that I keep myself. And if they need to do something, then we hop on a Zoom together and we do it. And they're fine with that. But outside of like some things like that, I let them run. I believe that I'm doing a good job in vetting the people and that we have developed a relation. I don't do it day one. I
Right.
guess
Well, I think
it takes time, but I believe that I've hired good people and I believe in people. And if they're not the right fit, then that shows up right away. But be guarded,
well, and I
set
think
your
that goes to
on
say
how people access stuff.
it's no different than hiring a new employee. If you hire a new employee, the first day they come in, you're not like, well, here's the bank account, here's the access to the credit card, here's everything here, just have at it. No, you're gonna start them on this, and they're gonna work up to that. They're gonna develop that relationship. Or yeah, I don't have a problem giving you access to this or that. You're just not gonna give it all right away. So I mean, I totally get where they're coming from on that side of it, but it's no
100%.
different than an employee. You're only going to give them as much access as you want to feel them out, to make sure it's good, and then you're able to move on from there.
Exactly. That's the you hit it on the head. You're going to baby step them into it. Miguel, I couldn't operate without him, and I trust him with almost everything. And like you develop that relationship. Just because they're not sitting next to you doesn't mean that they're not human, and that it's so funny. AI Bob's talking about humans. That's weird. But it doesn't mean that they're not human, and that they're real people. They're just not working in the desk next to you.
Gotcha. Now, Diana's got another question in here. She says, so when you pay someone to create, say, like an SVG, does that become the property of your company, or is that theirs? How does something like that work?
Property of our company. We contracted with them for that purpose.
And that's what I would assume too, is they're doing a job for you, so it's yours. It's not like you are purchasing something from them; they are doing something from you. If that makes sense down
that's no different. Diana, do you do all your own vectorizing and digitizing? Because if you don't, it's the same way. When you send that file out, they don't own that file. You do. They're working for you on a contract basis.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think. How can I spin that to something that we're already doing? Yeah, it's no different than when I'm sending something out for a redraw, or I'm setting out something for digitizing, something to get cleaned up. I'm sending it to them. They're providing a service. I give the file back, and it's my file, and that's part of it. So that totally makes sense on that.
Yeah. Now, if you decide you're gonna do something shady with them, yeah, they'll I'm sure they will find some way to mess with you, right?
And I think they go for anything, right?
There's nothing off the table when you don't treat people right, but at the same time, I think you get what you give.
Absolutely.
And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying that's been my experience. If I'm suspect of somebody from the get-go, that's probably going to show up in the way I work with them long term, and it'll always be a little bit of a barrier in that relationship.
Yeah, and it's no different than dealing with a person that's sitting next to you. One of the things that COVID made really easy for people, they work from home. So all you have to do is think of it. It's just a work from home employee. That's all it is. They just happen to be in another country. They went there where it was cheaper to live, and they can live off more. So that's all it is. It's not crazy how it how it used to be with it. Now, before this, Bob, we were talking about having, how this, kind of that seamless integration, how it makes sense for you to, hand off something with just some general ideas. So you sent me a video, that you're working on, that you're going through stuff. So if it's all right with you, I'd like to play that and show, this is something that your VA did for you. And once we're done with that, I kind of want you to, explain the process of, how long it would have taken you to do it versus them doing it, the kind of the direction that you gave them to go with it, maybe, software, things like that. And to show, I think the big thing I want to know is, the cost savings versus you doing it and having them do it. So I'm going to bring this up, and then we're going to go ahead, and it should go right into it. And then I can, it should go right into it. And then I can start it up. Let's see. There it is right here. And here we go.
The phone rings in Mark's office. He scrambles to answer, but alas, a voicemail. He checks the caller ID. John Smith, potential new client. Panic sets in.
Not again. This is the third missed call today. John specifically said he needed his lawn mowed ASAP for a big party this weekend. I hope he leaves a message. Hi, this is John Smith. Voicemail again? Ugh, guess I'll call someone else.
Mark slumps back, deflated. He knows John likely called another company, another lost opportunity in the competitive world of lawn care. His phone rings again, a different number.
Hello, Green Thumb Landscaping. This is Mark speaking.
Hi, Mark. This is Bob from Fresh Horizons Marketing. I couldn't help but notice you missed a call from John Smith earlier. Was he inquiring about lawn mowing?
You did? Wow, yes. Unfortunately, I missed him twice. He sounded urgent and needed mowing for a party this weekend.
I understand how frustrating that is, Mark. But what if you had an automated system that could capture those missed calls and turn them into opportunities?
Explain.
Imagine. John gets a text right after your missed call. Hi, John. Thanks for contacting Green Thumb Landscaping. We're currently busy creating beautiful lawns. But don't worry. An AI helper from Fresh Horizons Marketing can answer your questions or schedule an appointment. Just reply to this message.
An AI helper? Can it handle John's specific needs like the party deadline?
Absolutely. It can gather details, suggest services, and even book him for the weekend. You'll never miss another lead, Mark. John gets immediate service, you secure the job, and everyone wins.
Sounds like a game changer, Bob. Tell me more about this AI hero.
With Fresh Horizons Marketing's missed call text back solution, Mark transformed his missed calls into bookings. Don't let John or any potential customer slip away. Sign up today and watch your lawn care business flourish. Visit our website or call us now to experience a demo and schedule a time to talk with one of our team members.
Now, Bob, when you showed me that, I was super impressed with it, because I was like, okay, I had all kinds of questions with it, and now you're gonna answer them, because I said, oh, we could use this to. So on something like that, one, if you were to create it, how long do you think it would take you to do that?
Honestly, I don't know. And here's why. Because I've never used the software, right?
Okay.
So I knew what we wanted to do, but I've never done it. I went out and researched. I did the research to figure out, okay, what is it that we want to create? And that video style is very popular right now. So I'm like, okay, I want this. So I bought the software, and but other than getting my login credentials, I absolutely have no idea how to use that software. So let's to pin it to a number, a couple of days. I mean, I'm not a dummy when it comes to stuff. I can usually figure something out. So I would say a couple of days, maybe a week, especially if I'm busy in the office.
Which may seem like a long time, but when it's something that we're doing like that to me, in my mind, I justify it with being that's evergreen content. I can use that for the next year, 2 years, 5 years, however long I think it's still good. So if I have to invest a week in it now and I'm able to use that for it, in my mind, it makes sense. And really it does. If you're doing it yourself, you're able to do it there. But Bob, from the time because I think you used Miguel on this, right? From the time that you gave it to Miguel to what we just saw, how long did it take him to do?
5 hours.
So 5 hours. So something that would take you a week. and not there, he was able to get back to you in 5 hours.
Yeah,
So if
and
you had
that
to,
included a set or two of revisions where he sent me kind of like a pilot of it, and I'm like, okay, I like this, let's tweak this, let's do that. But that included him creating the script, him creating the voiceovers, and him creating the animations, right? So it was all of it in 5 hours. So and then the that set of revisions too. So he really understands how to do that type of stuff.
you're paying, you just say you're paying Miguel what, $10 an hour? Is that what you said?
He's $8 an hour.
$8 an hour. So 8 times 5, $40. You spent $40 on that, Bob. I mean, that's less than dinner, right? And you didn't
That's
have
not
to
even a trip to McDonald's for a big guy like me, man.
right. And when you look at time versus money, that you would have had a week into it. You'd have had this. It was done in 5 hours. Even if it took them 10 hours, you doubled it. You would still get more than what you want out of it. And that's what I mean is being able to do things like that. When you find somebody that does that type of work, where that's their bread and butter, that's what they know what they're doing. You're able just to provide them some basically an outline. Here's what a concept of what I'm thinking. Here's what needs to be included in it, and they take off with it. And from scratch to turning that around in 5 hours, that's the crazy thing with it. Now, going through this, Tim, said it was super cool. Diana said it was cool. And Barb's, brings up an interesting here. Look neat, but I know a bunch of my customers would say, why can't I interact with you directly? What is this AI person? Well, and to me, because I've interacted with a few different ones, it's no different than when you jump on a website and it has the chat now feature. I would say a good 75% of those, there is nobody behind it but an AI bot. Everything is running through them. So they wouldn't even know. And it's one of those where a lot of it is getting the basic information and then it's setting it up from there. I think on some of these automations, it will, on this one, and I think we've talked about it. So if I'm wrong, you'll tell me, which is perfectly fine. But that AI bot is basically getting them to schedule the appointment, and then it's taken care of from there. So you don't have to talk to them. They put in, here's the appointment that I need, here's what I want for it, and then it goes to a scheduler and takes it from there. On our side, being in the apparel decoration business, how does that come there? It's going to ask them all those basic things. What are you looking for? Quantity, size, color, style. You're going to come up with all those questions that you would normally ask. And it'd say, okay, great. Let's get you on our calendar for a call. We'll get you these answers back, because most of us, we have that exploratory call with a customer. They'll call, hey, I need this, this, and this. And then what do we do? All right, here, let me get you pricing on this stuff and I can get back to you. Well, if you know that here's where it is, it can give them a basic rundown. Like what we're working on through our website is we have that estimator. So they're able just to go right on there and get that information, have it sent to them, have it sent to us, and then schedule a call. All right, let's do a follow-up with this where we can give you all the information and a better pricing. So it keeps them from calling the next person because somebody's interacting with them right away. It also says, whether they do or not, it's still better than the previous method of nothing, right? Something is better than nothing with it. And
and let me kind of unpack that a little bit.
Yep.
So that is a sales tool that we're using for one of our target markets, right? So it's like when you watch a car commercial, and they don't ever show you the base model. Yep. They show you the fully loaded model, right? That's what we're doing there. So there is our missed call text back feature can work with just simple text responses as well. But the AI, which almost all of our clients opt into that because it's so much more conversational, that especially in texting, right? Most people couldn't discern whether it was another human responding or if it was a bot responding. Mm-hmm. That's especially in the text world. Give it another 6 months to a year, you'll have that same experience in an audio form, in a voice form. And that's coming, but that part's not quite there yet. It's a little laggy. Well, but the thing of it is, the reason why that tool since we're on that tool for a moment, the reason why that particular tool is so powerful is because if you didn't have something there, that would be an opportunity that's lost.
Mm-hmm.
You've spent a lot of energy and a lot of money to get people to your website to call you. And if you're letting those pieces go, that's a missed opportunity. But so to circle back about the VA part, right? the sometimes, you know, you want to do something and you're like, I know how to do it, but I know I want it, but I don't know how to do it. I mean, I don't know how to do any of that type of stuff. I just know that there are people on my team now that do, and I can rely on them to do it. And so I've used this term before on our calls. It's a force multiplier.
Yep.
It's taking the ability for me to have an idea, or for one of our, this whole thing started from a client saying, hey, could you do a video for us for something? And I'm like, sure. and here we are. So when we started off doing doodle videos here a few months ago, same process. I don't know how to do it. I know that a client wanted it, and I'm going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody on the team is going to figure it out, right? Same thing. We bought some software. Miguel is just a whiz at this stuff. And that one took a little bit longer because there was no experience in doing video. And I think the first one there took 10 hours. We charged that client $750 or $850 for it, you know, and they were tickled pink because the agency that was going to hand do it was $5,000.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing in this is when you look at it, you know, and this is still, you know, even in its infancy, you know, we got to think, you know, look when, you know, the color TV, look when, you know, HD TV, you know, look at 4K, how it's just evolved. This same thing is happening. Now, I think you were on a call with me where there was somebody that was using an AI chatbot and they were closing sales with it. It was a follow-up, and it's only going to get better to there, where it sounded like a real person. It had real responses. It wasn't robotic at all. And with things like this, especially on a chat feature, you know, here it is. You can name, they wouldn't know it's an AI person unless you say, hey, this is AI Bob. You know, this could be Tiffany from customer service. How can we help you? You know,
Yes.
and you know, through our chat service. And that's how it's doing it. It's you know, when you look at a lot of businesses where they have the call center that it goes to, it's that same concept of here's how it is, so that way you can get into it, whether it's a switchboard, this or that. It helps close those customers, keep them front of mind because you're there with them. And like Dinah says, you know, right here, it would be nice to not have to learn yet another program just to get what I need. Excel is killing me. Yeah, and that's where when you start working with some of these VAs, you start looking, you know, okay, is there somebody that handles, you know, in our instance, building something like this, doing maybe video editing, maybe, you know, what is it that you need? You want to create, you know, a commercial like this or an ad set like this? Okay, you know, like Miguel's able to do it. Okay, that's what they're able to do. Oh, well, here's a project based. What are you able to do? Perfect. You're able to send it off that way. And like with the callback feature, you know, Diana says there's times I have to run an errand, so not missing calls at the office would be handy. And that's right there where it came in. You're doing something. You're with, you know, do you have the client in front of you that you're working with? Do you put them on hold to pick up the phone, or do you, you know, pick up or do you let the phone go? Well, with this, you don't have to worry about that because both are going to be serviced at the same time. And
Exactly.
Diana says it makes your company more valuable when you can operate without you to some extent. Yeah, 100%. You know, because that's when we look at, you know, we've had this discussion in different media groups across the time. And one of the things that we've noticed is that, you know, what makes a company valuable and not valuable is the team that surrounds you. When you're a 1 or 2 person shop, you know, when we go to sell, we're not valuable because most people aren't going to continue to buy from the new place because we're not a part of it. But if we have systems in place and we're just kind of there with it and it runs the best of it, then they don't have a problem with that because, hey, I don't care who's there. It's always providing the best thing. So when you can put that system in place, you can show the automations, you can show the recurring revenue, you can show how everything would not miss a beat without you there. then that's perfect. It's what we're doing in our business, where we're having overflow printers there, where we're having automations built in, so the business can run without us there. When we go on vacation here at the end of the month, I'm probably only going to work on the business maybe an hour or two a day, if that. And it's really just going to be checking in with people to see if anything needs to be done, or but that's the goal, so we can work less in it and I can spend more time building the business. So I think that's a goal that all of us want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, and Diana, Todd will drop the link to the website. Happy to have a conversation with you and show you how all this can work for your business. It's not a bank breaker. We've got plans to fit everybody. So if that missed call text back kind of rings a bell for you, pun intended, we can find a way to make it work for your business. So, but yeah, just click on the contact us or start a chat, and one of us, whether it's Todd or myself, will
if you get over to marketing.com,
one of us will respond and get your questions answered.
Yeah, it gets you in there, and this is part of the system. I mean, Bob, let's see, when we first started talking about doing something that was over a year ago, and it was trying to figure out what we can do. And then it was about 6 months ago, we said, okay, here's this. And now, each time it's how can we refine that down further to get exactly what we want? That was, going over our call today was, the things of asking what people want and out of us and on the marketing side of it. And, it was, if somebody was to sign up with us, here's emails, here's newsletters, here's a blog, here's a website, and here's reviews. That's kind of the most important things for an apparel side, because some of the other stuff we don't need, but there's those options to add on, the content creation, the missed callback. There's a lot of things to unpack and add on, and it can get super overwhelming, which is just like this. When you're looking for a VA, you're thinking, oh, do they do this? Do they do that? Do I have to do this? No, if you just want to find one, just in our business, if we think digitizing, you're sending stuff off to digitize. That's what they specialize in. You're sending it off to them. They are doing the digitizing, and then they're sending you back. You're finding those project-based people that's able to do it. When you have these exploratory meetings with a VA company, here's what I do in my business. Here's the scope of work I'm looking for. Help me find somebody. And they will, because they want you to be satisfied. You're satisfied. You're going to keep spending money with them, and it moves on from there. It's just that taking the leap to do it is always the hardest for any of us.
100%. Yeah. And Todd and I are, as we're working together more and more, our thing is to help you guys, whether it's just hopping on a call to say, hey, what about this? We're happy to have those conversations and just, help answer some of those, because if you don't ask, you don't know.
Yep.
Right. And I know for myself personally, I'm always happy to take that call or have a Zoom meeting with somebody just to talk about their business and that. Sometimes it's something where they do some business with us. Sometimes it's just like, hey, thanks, I appreciate that. I feel better about where I'm at, and we go about our ways. But I really believe that if I can help you down the road, it helps us more, right? The more as a community, the more we are helping each other. Business transacts when you're working with somebody like and can produce results.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just I come on here because I really want to help you guys. It's one of those things that if I've 20 some odd years of business experience, if there's some little nugget of something I know that could help one of you to make your life just a little bit easier, happy to share it.
Yeah, we love it. We love you doing it. And I think that, on that note, Bob, that's probably a great way to wrap it up. Now, I know we haven't really touched on the topic for next month, so we'll get together and we'll figure out what that one's going to be. But what's your any parting words of wisdom to get to kind of get people thinking more about VAs? Maybe give us where did we talk about where you got your first service through for VAs? Did we put that on there?
Yeah, so I want to say it's I pay them all the time. BA Enterprises or something like that. I can find it and I'll send it over to you. You might remember that's Enrique. If you
Yep. Yeah. And the thing is one of the things that I had a fear of was that the miscommunication, that I wouldn't be able to understand what they were asking. They wouldn't be able to understand what I was asking. And I was on a call with Bob and Miguel, and if you would have told me Miguel was in Texas, I would have believed you. Would never thought anything different of it. And that's the thing, because I think we're in the same time zone, aren't we? Or is he one? He's not.
He Miguel is Miguel is an hour ahead.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting. Jason in the Philippines is 14 hours ahead.
Yep. And one of the things that I like about that side is I can send a project before we go to bed, and when we get up, it's done. So it's working overnight while we're not here. So when, don't be worried about, somebody's in the Philippines or somebody's here, just worry about the project that you need them to do and that it's getting done on that. So
yeah.
Bob, go ahead.
I know everybody wants to jump off. Let me share just this last piece about the timing. Many people are willing to change their lifestyle in whether it's the Philippines or India, anywhere, to be able to work with an American. So if you really want somebody that'll work on your time frame, maybe you're 8 to 5 Central Time, right? Make sure that you put that in there, that these are the times that you're available, and that you want to be able to communicate with them during that time frame. If they're not willing to do that, that's okay. There are millions of people out there that will. So, and then again, kind of like what Todd said, if it is not a concern, if you're like, hey, I'm just going to send it, and they've got a couple days, so the time difference doesn't matter. Perfect. Then go ahead and let them, if that's not a concern. But like all of my people, because we have client meetings all day long, they all have to be able to be willing to at least be willing to book a meeting during my normal business hours. And as a kind of a little bit deeper insight, both Jason and his wife in the Philippines have worked for large call centers. And I do apologize if you guys hear my dog. I do apologize. But they both work for large call centers, and they're like, these are the hours that we have to work. This is what the Americans dictated to us, and this is how it works. So don't be afraid of that time zone difference.
Yep, I wouldn't worry about it at all. All right, Bob, we're going to get you out of here, and once we figure out next month, we'll say what that one's going to be. And then once Bob sends me the links, I will post those. I'll post those on our membership community, and I will post them over in the Facebook group, so that way everybody can have that information. So Bob, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time, Bob. All right, let's get
everybody.
All right, who is ready for VAs, right? That it's not as hard as what you think. We're going to get you the information. We're going to get you the resources. And a lot of this, if there's things that you need in your business, Bob's able to help with that. You want to create a video like that, they're able to do it for you. When you come on to our marketing program, guess what? That's what we have, is we have Bob in our back pocket to be able to help with things like this and to be able to build it. And so if you're interested in doing that, I think with everything, hey, get over here. Where is my little banner at? Because I don't see where it is there. Just head over to betterwithmarketing.com. Go ahead, schedule a call. Get on the phone with Bob. He's easily accessible. We'll be able to help take care of. And I wouldn't push something that we don't use. Wouldn't direct you to something that I don't believe in. And Bob and I have been friends for a while, and we've been working on various projects throughout this. And this is kind of what we've been going towards, at least on my end, is how can we better help those in this industry? Because we're all in this, where we don't have the people to to work on our emails, to work on our newsletters, to do this. We need some help with it, and that's something that we're able to provide. And I'm super excited with it. And if anybody has seen our estimator that we're able to set up with you, that right there to me is worth its weight in gold, because then somebody can just go to your website. It's a simple landing page, put this in, fill out a quote, done, and they have some information for it. So I'm super excited about that. With that, if this is the type of things that you love, hey, let us know. Let us know more topics you want to know, especially on the marketing side. We'll get those over to Bob. We'll create the content for you. Tomorrow morning Mindset, where you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure to get here from this. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. Like I said, it helps keep the lights and mics on, and we really appreciate that. Thursday, there will be DTF bundle drops. I think there's either 3 or 4 that are dropping on Thursday, all of St. Patrick's Day things. Next Tuesday, I believe we're having Cindy on, and we're going to talk origami style bows. So that'll be another day of crafternoon. Grab your drinks, because we know what happened last time I made a bow. So an origami one, I don't know what's going to happen with that. So until next time, you guys have an amazing day, night, to whatever. Keep the conversation going. If you have anything, just let us know in the comments here, and we will be there to answer them for you. So until next time, peace, love, press on. We will see you guys next time.